facing the police every single day.
Alright.
What's happening?
Nothing much.
I guess they called, were worried about cash transactions.
Yeah, the thing is, okay. No. Yeah.
What's going on?
Want to me?
Sure. That's where you want to go.
My house.
Any guns accessible or anything in there?
Yeah. Oh, I thought about it. And I got really nervous when I was trying to talk to these people this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they got here around 10:30, and they went to work. And then they, a few minutes later, she brought me out there and said I had to pay more money for deep ground in dirt, you know. And I said, I'm not paying no more money for that, you know. I said, use the soap you got. And then the next thing is about 15 minutes later, come to the door and says, you got to pay in advance. And she gave me a figure of $337. And I was saying, well, where'd you come up with that, you know? I said, let's pull it up on your website here and look at that, you know, because it didn't say that, that's not what I read, you know, that figure. And then they said, oh, we don't have that here. And I said, well, do you got their phone number? We don't have that. Or nothing. I said, well, do you have a business card? I said, we don't have that. And I said, I know you got to have their phone number, you know. And so they gave me a phone number. And I called, and nobody answered right away. Like when I called yesterday, somebody picked up right the phone and said, you want this service. When I was Googling online trying to find the name of the company, I couldn't find it again. It's like it disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. So I Googled taxes in this, if you pay tax on labor in this state, and you don't. You know, you pay for parts, you know, that type of thing. You know, you don't pay for the tax for their labor.
Right.
And when you go to the grocery store, you buy something, and you pay a specific fee. Now that's what I tried to tell them, is that that fee was nowhere near the $337 that they were talking about. Then they come back and they said, well, let's charge you $300. And I said, I need to talk to somebody from your company. You know, so that's when I came in here, I started getting really afraid of them. Well, actually, I had to order them out of my, I was backing up, and ordered them out of my garage. You know, I said, I'll call 911 if you don't get out of here. Then she started saying, give me $200 and we'll leave. You know, I said, I'm not giving you $200. You know, so I didn't call 911 right away. But I was, you know, I get dizzy real easy. I'm having trouble standing there. And so I figured, this is well enough alone, you know. And so I backed in and I spoke to somebody from their company. And she said, and I said, well, what is the fee then? You know, and she couldn't even tell me the fee. You know, so I said, shit, I dialed a company that's, whatever, you know, that's not real legit. You know, so I have no problem with paying for the job. But I don't, even the figures that they quoted me, I questioned, I said, I don't think I paid, I requested a $189 wash on one car. You know, I said, I had I was under question, it was something like around 149 because I wanted to get the leather on those seats in that BMW.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, then she was saying, well, you have to pay more because it's a van. I said, when I made the deal on the phone, I said, nobody said I had to pay more because it's a van. And she said, you got to pay more because that one's an SUV. Well, that's that little BMW out here. That's not like a big Tahoe or something, you know. It's a little car, you know. So that's where I'm at, you know.
Okay, what are you wanting us to do?
Well, your presence makes me feel a lot better for one thing, but I don't want them, when it comes time to pay them, is going to be the problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I guess, I think I come up with the maximum that I should have been charged is, I think, $279, or 78. So I figured it's, and they said, oh, we'll drop it down to 300. And so that's, I figured, well, that's $22 that I'll lose, but I learned a good lesson. And now that you're here, they know that you've seen them, and I hope you ID'd them.
I can't. There's no criminal in nature, so unless they just willfully hand me their ID, I can't.
Okay, you got your number on their car and stuff, though.
Yeah.
Okay, in case they start to give me a bad time again.
Right.
And I got several health problems that I have. I can't defend myself.
Right.
And if they pull something on me, you know, pushing me around or start yelling again, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Sounds to me like they're kind of a self-made company, and with that being said, they're allowed to price for labor if they want. It's not a law thing. It's like if you take your car to a mechanic, he's going to charge you for labor. So that's their right to do so as a business.
Yeah. Well, I googled it. It's a state law that they can't. They're going to if they're charging that, they have to pay that to the state. It's not theirs. And when they're just saying pay me up front and not giving me a receipt and stuff.
Well, right. It's gonna have to do with their taxes and nonsense at the end.
Yeah, at their end.
Right.
But to charge me for something, and they're not even giving me a receipt, just demanding cash and won't take a check or a credit card where they didn't say, nobody told me, nothing like that. And I figured I'm going to hand them this money. They're going to do a half-ass job and they're going to be gone, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you have two choices here. You can pay them, and if you feel like you've been taken advantage of, you can civilly sue the company for it, or you can try and haggle down the price of what you want, but it's all going to be civil at that point. There's really no criminal action happening as far as their story and yours.
They've seen you here. You got their license number. They do something, and some is on camera, not everything. You know, my main camera there, the batteries are down. You know, so I guess I'll just set up a phone in my garage if they're going to beat me up or something.
Why are you worried they're going to beat you up?
Because the way they were coming on me, you know, they were raising their voices. Now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do that. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. I says, where's your, let's get on your site and I'll show you what I paid for, you know, what I ordered. They didn't say nothing about, that was my flat fee that I ordered, nothing else. You know, I didn't order so it's like when they tell you it's $100, you know, like they use the example on the internet. If you hire a handyman and he's digging a ditch for you, and at the end of the day he tries to charge you the $6 or whatever of tax, that's not right. You know, that's against the law. Labor is not taxable in the state of Florida. So when they give me that, when they sell a service inclusively, that's the figure inclusive.
So when you say labor is not taxable, correct.
I can show you on
but
I googled it.
I understand what you're saying. Labor is not taxable, however, they can charge you for labor. So they can't put taxes on the labor part itself, is what you're saying.
It's a inclusive deal.
That would be something you guys have to take over. You have to take.
Well, it said that on their site, but now I can't even find their site. I don't know if when because that lady told me, well, they called and said blah 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 that they're going to give you a discounted rate or whatever. I mean, hell, even the 300 is more than I thought it was going to be. You know, which I would have never. You know, I was in a hurry and I booked them. You know, and they were available. So that's my plan: is just give them the 300, then hopefully I'll never see them again. And if I ever ever see their website, if they ever put it up again, I'll put them real low, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'll go let them
I won't
know.
even do that, you know.
I'll go let them know that you're willing to pay $300, and if it's going to be more, then just stop working, because I don't want that to happen.
And they can stop and just leave.
Yeah.
Because I came up with $278 is the actual amount of what I owe them.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying 300.
Yeah, I don't know if I wrote that fee down, but I put it in my pocket here. I couldn't get off the thing.
But I'll go have that conversation with them, and then if you want me to stand by until the transaction is complete, or
It's not going to be complete for quite some time.
okay.
You know, I mean, if they, I don't want to hand them money and they have them just drive away. They don't have it. Here's the 278 is what it's supposed to be, and they're trying to charge me above what their internet site says.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Alrighty. Well, like I said, it's going to be a civil matter anyways. So
Yeah, but I can just say bullshit. Then you can leave. You know, take and we'll settle it in court and we'll pull up your thing. You know.
well, you kind of, because if you don't pay them for their services, it's theft of services. So you have to pay them. But if you're not satisfied with the price, you can, one, call the company and complain and see if you can get refunded.
Yeah.
Two, sue them in civil court, which you can also tell them you're going to do. Maybe that'll add some leeway on their end.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, I'm going to pay them just to save the trouble. You know, I made a mistake. You know, when I hired them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it would be much easier just to give them the money and then let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it as far as I'm budgeting. You know, because this is all I owe them. You know, here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's only $22 that I'm losing. You know, and this is I don't trust that bottom figure, but I can't find their site. You know, it's
Right.
disappeared. So
So-
that'll do her then. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, not a problem. So I'm going to tell them 300, and they're not going to go higher than that. You're not going to go higher than that or lower than that.
Nope.
And we'll call it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I don't know what he was worried about. He said that he checked your website and it said one thing. You guys got here and said another thing.
Yeah.
I get it sometimes. He said that he should have owed you 278. You guys quoted him 300. He's fine with the 300. So
Yeah.
that's where we'll stay at.
Okay.
I mean, above all,
So,
I have nothing to do with this. It's a civil issue anyways.
Yeah.
And if he wants to take you to court because he doesn't think the price is fair, that's on him. If you guys want to take him to court because you don't think he paid you enough, that's
Yeah.
on you guys. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, I guess he called you out. I don't know.
He said it
But-
was a peace of mind, like you said.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Maybe he want peace of mind, but whatever he wanted to do, I told him he can do.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that type of thing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man.
All right.
If you have any more issues, you can call me as well.
Okay.
Take care.
Did you come in wanting to talk about an Officer Haley?
Yep.
Okay. Let me see if anybody's in here real quick. Come on in, have a seat. There should be a door stop, but there isn't. That's gonna hold it or not. I'm Sergeant Heddyberg. I'm just one of the patrol sergeants working today. Officer Haley doesn't work for me, but I can try to figure out what's going on and maybe direct it to the right place.
Well,
What's going on?
I called the 911 on the 26th.
Okay.
And it's because I had made an appointment for some auto detailers to come and detail my car.
Okay.
And then they were supposed to come at 4, but then they called back and said that they wanted to come at 10:30, and I said, okay. You know, and then when they showed up, you know, I saw a car through my window, and I went out to my garage, and they sat in there for quite a while. It was just an old beat-up car, you know, could have been an old van or station wagon. And when they got out, you know, I asked them some questions and stuff, and they, you know, were really evasive with their answers, you know. And they said, well, what, you know, so they wanted me to give the garden hose, you know, for garden water, and I was already expecting a tank, you know, to come in and wash my car. And when they plugged into my electricity, and then a few minutes later, one of them came up to the door and said, come on now, you want to show you something. She goes, we're going to need a special kind of soap that's going to cost you more money, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I just use the regular soap. And then came up again, and he started, we're going to need your car keys because we got to move the windows, you know, to get it right. And rearrange the cars, he said. And then he says, then they start saying, I gave him the keys, then they start saying, and we want $338. He says, usually we get paid right up front. I said, I'm not giving you $338 right up front here. I said, my car wash was supposed to cost $129. My detail was supposed to be $129, plus my, it was either $85 or $95 for the second car.
Okay.
So then they started arguing with me, you know, pretty intensely, you know, and waving their arms like this. I mean, this guy was at least 6'4" black guy. And it got so bad, you know, they were saying, you give us $200 and we'll leave right now. But they'd saturated my seats, you know. So what I did is I was backing up, and I backed up into my garage. Then I remembered I had my phone. I said, I'm calling 911, you know. And then they backed off.
Okay.
So when the officer got there, he talked to them for a while, then he come and talked to me. And he says, well, you're going to be the one in trouble. You're going to be the one that could be in deep breach of contract. And I says, they wouldn't give me their business cards. I says, and then they, when I asked them if they're with that company, they were going Southwest, you know. And I said, I want to call with your supervisor. Oh, I forgot. When I was out there, I said, I want to speak to your supervisor. And then when after I'd retreated back in the house, I got a phone call from somebody. It was a no caller ID number. And when they, and their site was dead.
When I tried to pull it up again,
the website went dead.
The website for the company?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I told this stuff to Don, I said, I'm really afraid of these guys. He said, well, you're going to have to pay them. I said, you know, why would I have to pay them, you know? And then we went out there, he saw some of this, and then that woman was yelling, you give us $200, and then, you know, trying to intimidating me. You know, and I was, you know, at the time I was really frightened, and the officer didn't bother to help me at all, but rather blame me for the situation.
So what happened? What was the outcome?
The outcome is that the officer left. The officer told them he was going to pay you the $300.
Did you pay them?
I paid them the $300
Okay.
out of fear, not because I wanted to, out of fear.
Okay.
And then when they left, my wife said, "Where's the keys?" And they were driving off, and they had my keys. So that's when I called Officer again, and then Officer Sidit, was his name? Sigich. He showed up.
Okay.
And he did all he could do. You know, he made some phone calls and tried to track things and stuff. He said their number's dead, like I say. We were looking in the yard thinking they might be just, you know, pranking me, you know, doing something like that, just throwing the keys in a bush or something. Checked the mailbox, he did all that, and there was nothing more that he could really do. So after he was gone, we realized that not only was both car keys missing, but the gas cap to the BMW is missing, and my gas cap on the Honda Odyssey was ripped loose from the cord, and then put on. I don't know why he put it back on real lightly. I guess they're hoping that I'm going to break down somewhere because it runs off pressure.
Okay. Did Officer Sigich write a report or anything?
No,
reference
nobody
missing
wrote a
keys
report.
or anything like that?
I wrote this down. This is just a document in a working document that I made that I'm working on right here.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to let this stand like this, because I think that if that guy, that first officer, would have ID'd him, he had every right to ID them. He had every right to tell them to leave.
Do you know if he did any of that?
He did none of that. He was checking. I'm sorry, he was not.
It's typically what we do is when we make contact with both parties, we'll get IDs and we'll run them. We like to make sure that nobody has any warrants or anything.
I read him. I was able to find out who he is.
That's what I'm saying though, is you're not for sure, or you're 100% sure the officer did not run?
I'm 100% sure that he didn't run him, because I asked him. I said, "Do you know who they are?" He says, "I can't do that because they're not suspected of a crime." I said, "Yes, they are. They're suspected right now of fraud." I said, "They're suspected of like bullying me, trying to intimidate, coerce me out of money."
Let me ask you this. I heard you make mention that you wanted to talk to a supervisor. Did you talk to a supervisor that day?
You're the first guy that I got to speak to. I called back the other day. I don't like to have confrontation. And then the officer that said, well, he's going to send Sigett back when Sigett comes off his 2 days off. So I said, I just waited, and he never showed up. And then the weekend came, he never showed up today.
Who told you that?
The third officer that I called on the phone.
Do you know who the name of
No,
that
I
person
don't. I'm
was?
sorry, I
Okay.
don't know his name.
So herein lies the issue with how I have to deal with it. Typically, like if I get a complaint on an officer, it's typically the officer that works for me. That way I can immediately try to follow up, try to find out what's going on. Because I wasn't working the day that this call came out, and your officers that were out there that responded to the call, they don't work for me.
Okay.
So Sergeant Kentai is his immediate supervisor. And if Kentai wasn't there, which I'm assuming he probably wasn't working that day because he's been out, it was probably either going to be Sergeant Anwar or an officer in charge, which would basically be Barry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get your info. They're off today. They're off today and tomorrow because their normal days off. And this happened on the 26th, right?
Happened on the 26th. It started on the 25th when I made my call.
The initial call was the 25th?
Yeah, I got everything written down here, but this is a working document. It's not done yet.
That's what I'm saying is in reference to whatever occurred, you're going to need to give that to the sergeant that's going to follow up with you so they can try to look into it. Do you have the original case number?
I never gave me nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
Well, let me tell you one thing, in case you think that
Do you have your ID on you while you're telling me?
I went to the Better Business Bureau. I didn't go to the Better, but this popped up when I was doing my search. And this is exactly what happened to me. They go around and they bully these people, and they get money, and it's a common thing. And I believe it's the same people. It sounds just like the same people.
Could be. Could very well be.
And
So this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, it's going to be until Wednesday, unfortunately, because they don't come back until Wednesday. But I'm going to send an email to Sergeant Anwar, OIC Barry, and Sergeant Kentai, having one of them definitely get in contact with you first thing on Wednesday morning.
And you know what's really silly about this is that I was able to find out what happened. There's a company in Utah. It's called National Auto Detailers. They contract with individuals all over. Well, they had to break this contract with this guy. His name is Leon Bean, because Leon Bean was doing this to people under their name. So Leon Bean in turn makes a website that kind of interferes with theirs. If you think you're going to theirs, but then it ends up on his.
Okay.
And they give me the officer's number that's investigating him in Collier County. And they also said that the feds are getting involved with this case because of all the things that he did to them.
So it's the same person, this individual that you're dealing with?
Yep. Phone number, everything is on here of him.
Okay.
I know how he did it. I got the conversation in Texas from the company that did this. They gave me the name, and I described exactly what they looked like and everything. He goes, yes, that's them. And they told me what kind of car he drove, and I said, yes, that's the car. And they gave me the license number. Now, what really troubles me is that first officer could have did this. And, right now I'm over $1,000 having to get keys remade. I had uncomfortable. I had to sleep on the edge of my garage there and guard my cars because they moved that car so that the garage door wouldn't shut.
Okay,
You know, when I called companies to move it, it was like impossible for me to move it.
okay.
Now because my gas caps are open like that, I'm wondering if they put something inside of there. You know?
That's the thing, if you find that they did, retain all the documentation that you'll have, because one, it'll help as far as if you do have a criminal case, and it's also going to help any type of restitution for anything civilly that you can seek outside of anything
But
criminal.
I'm thinking that Northport Police is also liable for some of this restitution, because if he did something, one thing, all he had to say, write down the phone, the license plate. Let me see your ID.
Okay, and that's why I'm telling you that we have to follow up with the officer, because typically anytime we make contact with anyone, this is running, which is mine's running right now. So the sergeant's going to have to review the body cam, talk to the officer, and then talk to you, obviously, and find out exactly what happened. And then they can either explain why something was done or wasn't. And then definitely, if something wasn't done, make sure that it gets done.
Yeah. When that Tibbet,
Sigich.
let me write that down.
Yep.
So I could put it.
CIGICH.
CIGICH. And what was the other guy's name again?
I believe it was Officer Haley. That's what my dispatch told me. You for sure that's who the officer was?
He was a small young fellow.
You described probably about 40% of our department.
What I was going to say, but when I asked him that question, you know, he said, yes, I did do it. You know, I did get the license number. I said I couldn't get the other number, their IDs, because they're not suspected of a crime.
Okay.
And now, but, you know, they were suspected of a crime at the time. They were doing it. He caught them in the process. All he had to do was get this information from them.
Okay. And again, I wasn't here. I wasn't there. I can't speak on why the officer did it. But initially, it sounds like he could have been responding to something that he thought was a civil issue. And again, for us, for civil is not criminal. But there are certain ways that we can look into things.
Yeah.
And typically, anytime we make contact with people, we like to get IDs so we can document who we're out with, if we have to write a report, you know, all that type of stuff. So these are all things that I'm going to put in the email, and I'm going to make sure that one of the sergeants gets in contact with you on Wednesday. But before I do that, though, what's a good phone number?
941-661-4331.
Now, is that a cell or a home number?
I only got one number as a cell.
All right, perfect. Makes it easy. And this all happened on Mincy, right? 2094?
All happened on Mincy.
And you're saying the initial date was on the 25th?
That's when I called them, probably 9 or 10 o'clock during the day. And then early in the morning, this I'm a little unclear if they called back later on the day on the 25th, or I think it was early in the morning on the 26th.
Typically what I can do is I can look up the address and then we'll show any time that we were out there, so I'll be able to
So
find it.
my phone, I'm talking about to the company when they called me.
Okay.
Because they called me up, and I got all that, you know, one thing I did that I got lucky with, and I forgot I did it, is I copied their browser into my notes. So when it went dead, then when I went back to that browser, I'm able to tap on it, and it opened up. I printed out a lot of stuff, and I only did this only one company that I did the complaints on a mobile detailer, and they did the same exact thing to me. I don't know how, I think there was 3 different people that instant messaged me, because I put it on Facebook, their picture. Because first I was hoping that it was an accident that they took my stuff, you know, not the gas cap. Once that was done, I realized everything was done intentionally. But it was they called back and they had similar problems. One woman said that when they detailed her car, that their final bill was $1,400, and she was afraid of them too. I don't know if
You said the gas cap's missing, but was there damage to the car too? As far as, did you say they broke off something on there?
they broke off the gas cap on the other car, the plastic,
Okay.
and then they put it on shoddy. I guess when you don't put those things on tight, you know, the air will cause your car to stall on you.
Okay.
And so I was.
Truck 82 Red 51 respond Delta breathing problem. 4301 Mongate Road, 4301
What day
Mongate
did
Road.
the police come to the house?
Wingo Street,
Was that the 25th or 26th?
26.
Okay, so we came on the 26th. That's the day that I need to look it up. Okay. Mr. Brewster, right?
Yep.
Okay. What I'll do is I'm going to end up, once I leave you, I'm going to go look up the information for the call, and then I'm going to go ahead and send the info, the email to the sergeants and have them follow up with you.
Yeah.
Okay? Worst case scenario, let's say they don't call you on Wednesday. Call back because, nothing's perfect. Something might happen in the city that they're all tied up. But definitely call back Wednesday and request to talk to one of them. They'll already have information pertaining to
Yeah.
your
If you
complaint.
just skim at this is during, they took this guy's keys too. It's all over that they're doing this the same exact thing.
If you've got all that and they can prove that these people are going around doing it, it sounds like that you've got a definite fraud situation going on. What's the company's name?
The
detail company.
Okay, let me go through this again here. I can tell you exactly what. Should have wrote that on the top. So okay, I tracked down the real company. The real company that's being defrauded is National Details Pro.
Is that who you?
That's who I thought I was doing business with.
So that's who you thought was coming out?
Yeah, and then
Nationals.
no, they're a solid company. I got their numbers and everything here when it comes.
Detailers
If somebody wants to call them, I got texts from them. And then you see this Weebly right here that they put in there? It's Weebly.com. They sneak that in here into the. So here's their fake site, National Details Pro, and they put a dot and they put Weebly in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it's a common online scam that they do.
I researched the internet and I found out who Weebly is, and they may be a legitimate company, but this company use them to somehow, drain off the other people's business and then rip them off.
And those other places were out of state, right? Did that happen out of Florida?
No, this is Florida, in Collier County.
All in
There's a
Collier?
major there's an investigation, I won't say major, but then it's actually, these were Mormons in Utah that I spoke to that own the company, and they've got it turned over to the feds to deal with this because they said they're getting overwhelmed with these Better Business Bureau complaints.
Okay.
And I can't even remember what I clicked on when I was doing this, because on that site that I pulled up, it had Better Business Bureau approved, all this stuff, I thought, oh, this is a good company, this will work out, And the Utah company, they make contracts with people. And what the Utah company does is they can advertise better than what you can. So they'll get customers, but then you give them a piece of money that you make off those customers. So that's that's how they do this.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I got pictures of that lady on my ring, and she's even wearing that their hat.
Okay. Okay. Well, the good thing is that they were still present when the officers arrived, so there'll be body cam also of the interaction.
He said he didn't have it.
Didn't have what?
Body cam.
The officer specifically told you he did not have body
He
cam.
told the other officer that.
In what text? I'm not understanding.
The officer Sigich told me that he got a hold of this other officer and asked them about the license plate number, and he said he didn't get it.
Okay, I could see the plate possibly, but you're saying that you're making reference to the body camera. You're
And he
saying
said he didn't have any identifying information.
Okay, well, again, that's something that the sergeant's going to have to follow up with. If there's no body cam of him being on scene, that's obviously going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So we have to have our body cameras running.
And I have there somewhere in my notes here,
But I'm not going to speculate that he did or he didn't. That's something that the sergeant's going to have to follow up on.
See, I was able to get their if I wrote it down correctly. But the company from Utah is very cooperative. They want this stopped. They want these people caught.
Okay.
And so they got this from Officer Matthews from Collier.
Okay.
And the phone number.
All right.
Okay. So there's a lot of information to go on. And here's what the guy did to me when I came out at the end. He knew I was afraid of him. He was going, "Come on, boss, everything's all right, So I went up there, and then they said, "Go ahead and inspect." So I stuck my head into the van a little bit, And I could see it hadn't been done, you know, that stuff hadn't been wiped out. And I said, this hasn't been wiped out. And the lady stuck her head in there, started doing something. So then I was real uncomfortable when my head was in there, you know, that something might happen to me. So I backed out, and I went back to my garage door opening, and then I handed him the money. And she was already in the car. By that time, she was already in the car, and he walked off.
So you gave him the money before the officers got there?
No, after.
After so the officers were already there, and when you
The first
inspected, the cop, Officer Haley, was still there when you inspected, then gave him the money?
The first officer was there, and he left, and let them continue.
Dispatch, rescue 81's on scene with the truck.
And then when they didn't was done is when I gave them the 300.
Okay.
And then that's when my keys are missing, and the job, it really isn't. What was it? You can't detail a car in 2 cars in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But anyway, they. So that's when I noticed that my wife actually was saying it. She says that I really didn't hear it. She says that she was saying it before they left. Get the keys. Get the keys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the last people that had those keys was those guys, because my cars were parked like this in the driveway, and they pulled my one car into the garage, and the second car they pulled up close to it in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the last ones that moved that car, and they had my keys.
Okay.
You know.
All right, so Officer Haley got there, obviously because of the issue with them trying to run up the bill. Talked to you, talked to them. He ended up leaving. Then when he left, they continued to work, completed the job, you inspected it, and then gave him the 300. That's kind of the gist.
That's kind of the gist.
Okay.
But I gave the 300 because Haley said that I'm going to be at fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be at default if I didn't do that.
Okay.
Now, if he's got his cam on, it's definitely on there, because we sat right in my living room and talked that.
Okay, good. He should have his body camera on.
And he also says, I said, did you ID them? He says, no, I can't because they're not suspected of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and by intimidating me and coercing me like that, and they were throwing some stuff at me like, well, we got to charge sales tax. I said, sales tax on what? He goes, our labor. I said, Florida doesn't charge sales tax on labor. And besides, I was quoted a bulk figure.
And what was the original quote that you got?
It was 129 for one car, and I believe it was 85 for the second car.
All right. So you're looking a little over, maybe like $200, a little over 200. Okay. And again, that's something that we'll be able to look into and try to get you answers either way. But my next course is to reach out to the sergeants who cover that squad.
Okay.
And go ahead and write my name down.
Yeah,
HETTEBERG 167. That's my ID number. And then I'm gonna have one of them get a hold of you. Okay? All right, sir. Sorry we had to meet like this.
Well,
We'll definitely get you some answers though, okay?
yeah. I want my money.
Got it?
I want my keys.
I understand.
Those guys, right now I have to take my garage door opener and keys out of my car every time I go somewhere or go in the house, because I'm worried that they're going to come in there, unlock it, get my garage door opener and come in my house quick. And they've seen it.
All right, sir. We'll be in touch, okay?
All right.
All right, thank you. End of call.